It's great, but it can be better. By the way, spoilers for episode 1 and 2 of Daredevil Born Again. If you haven't seen the show, please go watch it. Yes, we are eating very good so far in Daredevil land with this new show, Daredevil Born Again. Now, this has gone through somewhat of a production, I wouldn't say hell, but a production mix-up, production shake-up, when they had shot maybe half of a season, and then I would say an online uprising made them decide to go a little bit different of a way. And I believe it is going a different way for the better. And all of this is kind of hearsay, but rumor has it that it wasn't going to include Karen or Foggy at all. And this show starts off with that right off the bat. Starts off with Karen, starts off with Foggy. It also brings you into the world of Hell's Kitchen after everything that's happened within the MCU, within the Marvel Netflix universe. It's kind of like that ending there, and it catches you all up with this. So, right off the bat, man, there's a lot of stuff going on in this show, especially in episode 2. Episode 1 really is meant to be a refresher, but also gets everybody on the right track, where we're at, where these characters are, who they are, and it sets you up for the rest of the season. So that's basically what the episode 1 is, and the reason he gives up being Daredevil is because he isn't able to protect Foggy. Bullseye, Mr. Poindexter, comes out of nowhere and just, yeah. I admit that scene really did hit me hard, and I couldn't believe that they just said, screw it, we're killing Foggy. And the pacing of these scenes kind of felt really fast. They had a lot to go through, and they did it in about 50 some odd minutes. I'm just gonna kind of break down each episode. I think the visual style of episode 1 is so much different than episode 2. You could say I'm wrong, but I think the first episode, it's shot way differently. It's shot with different cameras, different lenses. The consistency feels kind of whack when you get to episode 2. But episode 1 on its own really does distinguish itself from the Netflix show. The choice in visuals, the CG, the one-shot fight sequence in the bar, I didn't dig. I thought it was way too much CG with the smoke and everything, and it was kind of, I could tell. When we got into the hallway with the stairwell, that is when I enjoyed it. I liked that altercation on that stairwell. And then on the roof, man, you can tell that they do appreciate the Netflix show. They appreciate the Netflix show, the acting, the feelings, the emotion. This is truly something that has been missing from Marvel movies, TV, everything. Everything. Marvel has been missing this. And it's been sad to see it go on without that soul, which is ironic due to the religious iconography of Daredevil and of his Catholicism, but this has a little bit more soul than anything else I've seen from them. Episode 1, it does a good job at bringing you back into the fold. I really do enjoy the visual of the end sequence, the lighting on Matt as he walks through the crowds as they celebrate Fisk becoming mayor. That was really well done. And everything else in the middle was just getting you used to the characters, the players, that's going to carry you through this story. So I don't believe that Karen is going to show up again. She may near the end. I know she's billed as top billing on here as Deborah Ann Wall, but Eldon Henson's in there too, and he's... Of course, this is the MCU. This is comic books. It's quite possible that Foggy is still alive somewhere, or he can come back, or is he completely gone? And that is what's going to drive Matt this season. You see him carry not the obituary. What's that called when you go to a funeral? You see his funeral program. Matt is carrying it with him everywhere he goes. So everywhere that Matt goes, Foggy is always with him. And there was a very good scene with him in the courtroom testifying, and it was really fast. That was a really big court proceeding. He's like, oh, you're guilty. You're sentenced to life in prison. But Matt gets shaken up by Karen's presence. And Karen is steadfast. She is dead serious. And Matt is the shaken up one. So this is definitely a new take, a new avenue for him. And that's when we catch up with him a year later, and you see that. The first 20 minutes or so is really the incident with Foggy, and we also get introduced to the detective character who is retiring from the force, and this is kind of the new Daredevil friend. This is kind of the new Daredevil confidant. He he just so happens to come upon Matt when he is unmasked after he dropped Poindexter off the roof. So he knows who Matt is. He knows he's the Daredevil, and he has his full trust and confidence there. And Matt is now a partner with him. He's a PI. He's off the force, but he's still a private investigator, and he works kind of for Matt and his new law office. So that's kind of where we catch up with Matt. In episode 1, he is in a new office. Dude, there's so many different plot lines going on. I'm just going to mention every single plot line that I can think of right now. So we have Bullseye, which is linked to Foggy, Karen, and Matt. Matt then gives up being Daredevil because of that. He can't keep people safe, and he failed. Based off of that, Fisk is now back into the picture. Vanessa was actually running the crime gangs, and you kind of see it abruptly. He shows up and yeah, that kind of thing. So they're not really on really good speaking terms, and you see that in this scene with Fisk and Vanessa. It's very standoffish. It's very not warm. And there's a couple of explanations of how he left, why he left, that kind of thing. It really does seem like the show is getting to a point where it's like, okay, here we are. Let's move on. Let's just move on from all that stuff, and we're here now. No blip, no this, no that. Here, move on. They did mention him getting shot in the eye, though, which was kind of funny. I'm like, oh, wow, they actually mentioned it. So are they going off of Hawkeye or Echo? Episode 1, Matt is seeing a new girl who his partner at the law firm set him up with. She's a therapist. That's basically it. I would say her inclusion is the weakest part of the show for me. I don't feel that romance from the two. I think it was very fast. And I think they tried to catch them up to a point, because in episode 2, we see that the therapist is therapizing? One of those things. She's the therapist for Vanessa and Fisk. So that's going to be a line going through the season. Episode 2, we get introduced to a couple more ties. Fisk also has some opposition with the police commissioner, who he then blackmails with a baby out of wedlock that he had. So he's kind of getting up to his old rules, old games. But so I don't think he's turned a page at all. And Matt doesn't either. Face down that we saw them in the cafe proves it, that they're basically in a Mexican standoff with each other. You better not make me put the mask back on. He's like, if you put the mask back on, I'll come after you with everything I got, including the law. So the next part was the man getting assaulted on the platform. I don't know why he was being assaulted by the police officers. There may have been some reason, but that man is now a witness in this case of this man who he does moonlight as the White Tiger vigilante, who has been famous in New York City, as you've seen a couple of pieces of. He was out of costume. He didn't even have I love that we're just talking about a magic amulet now. That's just what legal proceedings in the Marvel MCU is. It's like, nah, he didn't have his magic amulet at that time. And the judge is like, oh yeah, he didn't have his magic amulet at the time. This is just normal talking. That's what we're doing. I really, really do enjoy that. But the men who were roughing him up, or roughing up that gentleman on the subway dock? I don't know, I don't ride the subway. The men who were assaulting him were policemen, and they have a tattoo of what looked like the Punisher on their wrists. So that is a whole new tie. This is going to be a faction of rogue police officers who may be dispatching their own version of justice, per Frank Castle like, and that's how Frank gets pulled back in, possibly, to take these cats down. So we have that storyline. We also have the storyline of the artist. We don't know who the artist is, we just know that he was painting something with Kingpin, and that his art may be a big part of the season. Not even going to talk about who that may be. I know we see him in the trailers, but we haven't seen him yet in the show, so I'm not going to bring him up yet. So we have the therapist talking to Fisk and Vanessa. Fisk is up to his normal dealings. He's trying to be a mayor. He's trying to look good, or as the episode says, optics. Michael Gandolfini, he is playing an aide of Fisk's, who he gets the favor of Fisk in episode 1 by referencing, you know, social media, this kind of thing. He's a youngin', that kind of thing. And with that, alongside, we do see little BB Urich. So her uncle was Ben Urich, and her name is BB. That's just her name. And I like what they're doing here. You see a lot of videos online of people being interviewed in New York City. That happens all the time. So using that as a reference of a temperature gauge of how the city is doing with Fisk, is he going to win them over? Are you going to see that change in the streets? That might be a really cool way of showing the grander scale of the world while having it real and something that you might watch on YouTube. So the BB report, I think, was what it was. And I liked how it cut in there, but the visual in episode 2 is a lot different. For me, I get kind of nerdy with the cameras and stuff, even though I don't have enough money to afford a lot of this stuff. But I could tell that the cameras used in a lot of shots in episode 2 are not the same as episode 1. It almost seems like episode 1 is using some type of weird wide angle anamorphic lens, and then episode 2, there's a couple of shots with it, but then there's other shots with it's more of like a photographic cinema lens. It's crazy. I wish somebody else smarter in the camera world could explain it to me, and maybe I'll find somebody. Let me know down in the comments if you know anybody who is going to be talking about the cameras and the nerdy stuff there, but I find it really, really interesting. I can't afford any of that stuff, so more to those guys. But beyond that, I think this is a great starting point. I feel like there is a soul to this show. I feel like there's emotions. There's also, everything makes sense. The characters have motivations. The characters are more thought out and more well-rounded than anything you've seen in the Marvel series in a long time. A very long time. Probably since Daredevil before. Even the movies, you don't really get as well-rounded of characters as you did in that show. So, is it perfect? No. Can it be better? Yes. And if they really are filming season 2 right now, I'm excited. I'm excited. We should have a yearly release of Daredevil shows just like we did back in the day. And I honestly do believe that Daredevil belongs on the small screen. No offense. I think he works better as a TV series versus a movie. I don't think he's an Avengers level threat. I don't think he's an Avengers level hero. He may help, but I don't think he should be on the Avengers. He is street level. He is real deals, and it's kind of crazy to hear a couple F-bombs in this show. I will admit that. I think Kevin Feige's like, just say the F-bombs, let's just do it. M-rated, baby. But what are your thoughts on the show? Let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on Daredevil Born Again. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is there a lot of plot lines that are just too scrambled and crazy going on? Because I just explained a lot of it, but I'm digging it a lot, man. And if you liked the video, feel free to subscribe. Also, feel free to smash the like button. It really does help out the channel get pushed out to new people. And yeah, we may be doing watch parties every week for this, so keep your eyes peeled on the channel, and we'll see if we do even more watch parties down the line. I had a lot of fun. It was awesome. So have a good day, and keep it nerdy.